Great, thanks. I'm Brett Trout, do intellectual property law, and I would just like to follow up on that. If lawyers kind of have an idea that, well, social media is kind of like a unique area that they don't need to get into, and they think, well, I don't need to make baby bottles to help you with your baby bottle company. But social media is not like baby bottles. It's like electricity or the phone or the internet. It's a tool that you have to use. And if your lawyer doesn't understand social media, if your lawyer's not using social media, you need to get a new lawyer. And I think that applies to everybody in this room. It might not apply to my dad and his business, but for everybody in this room, I think you really need a lawyer that understands that what that is, so that when you speak about that and what has happened or what needs to be done, they can address that very quickly. What I'm going to talk about today is the FTC regulation on bloggers and endorsements, and that was the thing that I'm getting the most feedback on Twitter is, what does that mean? Part of it is because it's not a new law. The FTC doesn't make laws. Basically what they do is interpret one very broad law in different ways. That law is you can't do anything that's unfair or deceptive in advertising. And to make an analogy, it's kind of like if the California Highway Patrol came out tomorrow and said, well, if we catch anyone going 58 miles an hour on the highway, we're going to drag you from your car and grind you into fine powder. That's kind of what this is. They're saying, we were doing this before, but now going forward, if you do this, we're going to move forward. The FTC said we're not going to go after, and this $11,000 per incident, that's not going to happen. But what they will do is they'll send you a cease and desist letter, and if you ignore that cease and desist letter, they will go ahead and file a federal lawsuit. And federal lawsuit, that's kind of like the carousel in Logan's Run. I mean, that people go in and they just don't come out, and everybody doesn't know what happened to them. So you kind of want to avoid that at all costs. So if you get that cease and desist letter, change everything you're doing. More importantly is people aren't looking at how social media is going to address this. Even though the FTC said they're not going to go after people right out of the chute, or especially bloggers, states have their own individual laws. They call them little FTC laws, and they mirror the guidelines that the FTC put forward. And what happens is that a lot of those have a private right of action. So if I give Adrian a life-size saltwater taffy sculpture of Glenn in exchange for pimping my book online, then Glenn buys it and he decides it's terrible, and you couldn't even have read that book because your review is so biased, there would be a possibility that Glenn would be able to enlist a bunch of people to have a class action lawsuit against me and against Adrian to go forward. And if you think lawyers don't know very much about social media, sharks don't know very much about playing badminton, but they do one thing very effectively, and they hunt and they kill, and you will find a lawyer out there who will take one of these little FTC laws, go forward, get a class action suit, and shut you down. So people are worried about the FTC coming after them, but I think really what you need to be worried about is social media coming after you if you do anything unfair and deceptive. The good news is, if you're not unfair and you're not deceptive in any of your dealings, you really don't have to worry about this FTC thing. But the way it's written right now, if you get a book and you're reviewing it and you don't return the book, or if you have an affiliate link, those are certainly look like they fall within the purview of the new guidelines, so you need to disclose that. And I think that kind of plays into what I call tiny contracts. If you look at, and I don't promote this site, I don't know anything about it. This site is probably not going to be the one that's going to win, but it's cmp.ly, and it lists different levels of endorsement, and you're putting that down there. Instead of writing a whole big contract, you can just say Series 1 contract, and this describes the relationship I have with the endorser. Thanks, Glenn.